Joining me first is actor Shekhar Suman, who has been one of the leading voices demanding justice for Sushant and calling for a CBI investigation. Shekhar, you know, over the last 1 week, I just said that I've been overwhelmed at the response and the support that the Justice for Sushant movement has been getting. And this happened just around the time when you have been one of the most vocal asking for justice. You went to Patna, and then at one point you said the family is not speaking up much on their own and let other people now take over. Have you seen the events over the last 1 week? And as one of the first people to raise their voice very loudly in this case, what do you make of the tremendous national movement that has now started?
I mean, this was inevitable. This was bound to happen. But before I say anything or speak out or unravel or reveal, I just thought that I will start on a high note. But I'm deeply saddened right now, almost feeling melancholic and listless, engulfed with a sense of ennui, because I'm just in the midst of watching Sushant Singh Rajput's swan song, his farewell film, Dil Bichara. And it's almost ironical that the film deals with the tragedy of Ek Tha Raja, Ek Thi Rani, Dono Mar Gaye, Khatam Kahani. It's difficult to come to terms with the fact that this guy who manifested a joie de vivre, who was, pulsating, who was throbbing, who was so buoyant, is no more. And my wife was weeping inconsolably. And she said, why am I connecting with this guy so much? And I said, this happens when you connect with a beautiful soul. So I'm happy also because it's a momentous day. I'm sure that Sushant is watching from above, and the heavens are smiling on him. You know, his last film is a beautiful film, and that I just hope, and I'm sure that it's turned out to be a monumental success and probably turned out to be a pièce de résistance. I haven't seen, of course, it just premiered today, I'm told, and I look forward to watching it myself. Yes, you must.
But in a way, isn't it remarkable, Shekhar, that through his art and through his craft and through his talent and through his genius and through his work, he has answered all the lobbies in Bollywood who plotted against him and ran him down and mocked him and tried to isolate him, So through his art, he has given them a resounding response.
Yes.
Don't you think, Shekhar?
Arnab, first of all, let me congratulate you. You're doing a fabulous job. And this is for the first time ever that I'm speaking to you. And it's such a privilege talking to you. I, first and foremost, at the very outset, wish to thank you from the depths of my heart on behalf of the entire nation and millions and countless fans of Sushant Singh Rajput, who would be sending their blessings to you. I think you have, you have been so aggressive. You have been so persuasive. You have been so unequivocally vociferous and persistent. And I think that this whole movement has acquired a whole new meaning and the credence and the credibility that you have given it. We are so happy. I'm so happy
Shekhar,
that, you have taken up the cudgels on our behalf for such a noble and emotional cause.
Shekhar,
thank you so much.
Just quick response to that, Shekhar. One, I am only doing my job. Secondly, I live in Mumbai, but I have no vested interests, you know that. Thirdly, when I launched Republic, I said we must just speak for the people. And I felt that there were a lot of people who were not being heard. And I think they need to be heard. So now can I come to the substantive part of it?
Yeah.
Substantive part of it was, Shekhar, you went to Patna. You met Sushant's father. You met the chief minister. You obviously there is something that did not add up for you. When I'm investigating this matter, Shekhar, what comes across to me is, sorry, but this is my gut feel. It cannot be suicide. This is my gut feel. It is something much bigger at play out here because, there are too many questions that come to me as an investigative journalist in this case. But what was playing in your mind? Do you think there's something else at play?
I'm not a forensic expert or a criminologist. I'm not even, close to that. But I wish to first of all thank the person who mysteriously, surreptitiously, though illegally, sent out Sushant's photographs post his death, and that led to everything. I mean, you know, if probably that had not surfaced, we all probably would have just believed the narrative that was preset. Having seen those photographs and those ligature marks, which clearly indicated, and thereby all the prima facie evidences that surfaced and resurfaced, and so many of that, it was, you know, it just, everything else in the beginning seemed, you know, conjectural, but it became more and more clear and more evident that it was an act of premeditated, cold-blooded murder. You know, it cannot be denied. And so all those evidences that we are talking about, right from the CCTV footage missing, forensic experts turning late, the duplicate key, where did they get a locksmith during this COVID-19 time?
Impossible.
Impossible.
For an for an electronic key, impossible. We live in Mumbai, impossible. In lockdown on a Sunday, impossible, yes.
And the changing versions of the servant. In one of the videos, you can see a guy running with a bag. There's so many suspicious events all around it, you know. It cannot possibly be a suicide. It cannot. And first and foremost, I had said it, and I'm repeating it again and again. If Sushant had committed suicide, he would have definitely left a suicide note. He has, for somebody who was so cheerful, somebody who was, you know, presumably partying, who gets up in the morning, is, you know, playing PlayStation, is asked for a glass of juice and suddenly decides to take his own life, is absolutely impossible. Even if you look at the backstory, the man was just full of beans. He's so cheerful. He's so, you know, he's a very positive guy. He's self-motivated, and you can see the glow on his face. Why would he end his life? So, you know,
there is this whole attempt, Shekhar. There is this whole attempt, Shekhar. First of all, I want to thank you for speaking up. You know, I want to thank all people who, while being in this industry, are speaking up. And I want you to know, viewers, that for Shekhar Suman to come out and speak up, you know, you need guts, because, you know, the moment you speak up, you're one among a very small group of people who are speaking up, and he's standing up to be counted. So we must be grateful for him for that. Now, going back to the issue at hand, you spoke about the ligature marks. You know, up the ligature mark around the neck, it was apparently of strangulation, not of hanging.
Absolutely.
And I also had others contact me yesterday saying he went for a jog that morning. Now, some people say you've got a version that you got up at a particular time, asked for juice. Why is the police accepting one version? Why are they accepting the version of the people who were inside the house so readily? And the second question is, how can the drank juice and committed suicide theory be taken at face value? The narrative is being spread. He woke up in the morning. He had a glass of juice at 10, then he went back to his room and locked it from inside. Whose narrative is this, Shekhar? Whose narrative is this, Shekhar? How can it be taken at face value? Your guess is as good
as mine. I mean, it baffles me. It beats me to think that, you know, why is the police procrastinating? Why is there, an interminable delay? And I have never heard of a suicide case extending for 40 days without, with us all groping in the dark, without a clue of what's happening inside, what's going on. I mean, a suicide case, if it was an open and shut case, it would have just, the file would have been closed. Why have they just, why is it lingering? What is there? Why are they being so cagey, and why are they being so reticent about it? I don't understand. And who's setting all these narratives? We need to understand that there are a couple of minds that, are very sharp minds working behind it. And obviously,
who are the minds? Who are the minds, Shekhar? Shekhar,
yes.
Think about it. Who were the minds who had also set a narrative in the Sheena Bora case? Who were the minds who were the minds who gave a certain narrative, in the Sunanda Pushkar case? Who are these minds? Always we find very professional minds. And sometimes the police itself wants to push a certain theory. Now, you are right, the strangulation raises the presumption of homicide. Why are we not talking about who killed Sushant? Now, the argument being made is, why did Sushant kill himself? Well, how do you know he killed himself? I'd say one thing, gut instinct to you. You're an actor, right? You're an actor, right? Now, there are days when we have highs and lows in all professions.
Absolutely.
And in your acting career, hasn't there been a time when you've been pushed back?
Yes.
You started in your 20s with Utsav at a young age.
Times.
Haven't you been pushed back? Haven't you been mocked? When you did your TV shows, were you not mocked? Did people not push you back for your background? And then what did you do as a creative person? As a creative person, what you do is you go and say, I'm going to fight back. I'm going to give my best shot in my next film. I'm going to silence all those people. I really feel, I haven't seen this film, but if it is what you are describing it to be, then I think Sushant was giving Dil Bechara his best shot. He was a fighter. This is not, you know, why would he give his best shot? If he had even remote thoughts of suicide, it just doesn't add up, Shekhar. Doesn't add up.
Nothing adds up. Nothing adds up. Everything is so nebulous. We are just being misdirected, and everything is just so also scattered. I think that there is a vicious attempt to kind of divert our mind somewhere else. Why are they so insistent in the first place that it was a suicide? How could the cops just go and say it's a suicide? Why couldn't they say in the first place, it appears to be a suicide? It might be a suicide. We will investigate that and we will let you know. Why were they in a hurry? There's so many things that were hurriedly sort of done, which have no answers. Because I'm going to share. Yes.
Yeah, go on. Please share.
You know, I'm horrified at, you know, even all the other deaths that have happened, and most of them are probably murders, and they have just been buried. I mean, in Sheena Bora's case, all of us thought that, you know, she had gone to America. It was after years that somebody, you know, squealed, somebody ratted and spilled the beans that we came to know, my God, that she has been murdered, and how. It was a heinous crime, and that she was buried out there, where somebody actually, you know, did a recce of that place and buried her there. I mean, you know, the case was, for all practical purposes, was closed. But then it was reopened. We are not going to allow them to shut this case without a CBI inquiry. This is going to be a persistent demand. We're going to shout from our rooftop.
Oh, yeah.
Shout ourselves hoarse. And
oh, yes, we will.
To you.
Oh, yes, we will.
Yes.
Yes, we will.
I tell you what, you know, when I was giving these interviews, somebody said, and even when I was in Patna, would you like to name the coterie, the caucus that you're talking about? There is a mob, you know, a ferocious. These are a pack of wolves, you know, who would not stop at anything. They are, you know, and they are dangerous. So they said, would you name them? And I said, you know, I'm familiar with the names, and I would love to name them. You know, but I'm not scared for myself. I'm scared for my son. You know, when he started off on a very promising note, he was just sort of relegated to the background and almost thrown to the bin. And today, I don't have the proof. Secondly, if I diverge the names, then I can assure you that you don't want yet another case of an unsolved murder mystery of a young lad who was intimidated, threatened, and was pushed to the periphery to the extent that he hanged himself to death under mysterious circumstances. You wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want that. I have lost one son. I don't want to lose another.
Shekhar, I know where you're coming from, and there's one thing I want to share with you. You know, I saw an interview, and people get so personal in this industry. They were even mocking Adhayan. What's his name? What does this mean? What kind of name is it? I mean, you saw that? You don't.
Yes, he's been through hell.
Yeah.
He has, you know, there is, obviously we're going to concentrate on Sushant today. That's going to be another story, but it's horrifying. The day I will sit and I will talk to you about what they did with Adhayan, what happened to him. There was another Sushant in the making. I mean, he had suicidal thoughts. I mean, he was pushed to the dark alleys where he felt so helpless that he wanted to end his life. This is what they do to newcomers. This is what they do to talent. You know, your own talent becomes your nemesis, and which is horrifying. I'll talk about that, but right now, as I said, coming back to all the evidence, so all the facts, I think it's very unjustified.
So may I make a personal request to you? I know this was a one-on-one. You stay on, okay? Don't go away. I'm going to have a debate now because that's the sequence of my program. But I want you to stay on. At any point of time you want to come into the debate, you can raise your hand.